Title: Karen attempts to order at a closed restaurant, despite me telling her that she can't order because we're closed. This happened about 4 years ago when I was working at McDonald's. Now this one is a 24/7 McDonald's, but due to management at the time, we had to do a deep clean, so we closed at 8 and we gave considerable notice, as there were signs everywhere letting people know. Then there's the blind driver who went past all 7 signs not noticing a single one. I'm on headset for drive-through the cast me. Yours truly EM equals entitled mother M equals manager me. Here's the beep that someone's at the order station. Hello. Welcome to McDonald's. Unfortunately we're closed at the Mo.M. I'd like a fish finger Happy Meal and a large quarter-pounder meal with a Diet Coke please me. I'm sorry ma'am, we can't provide any service at the moment because we just closed for maintenance and deep cleaning tonight EM. What do you mean this is an all-day all-night McDonald's? Me. Yes, we are, however this was the business manager's decision ma'am. I cannot provide any service at this time. I'm posted here to let customers know that we're closed in case they miss the signs outside EM. I don't like your tone. I'd like to see your manager me. Of course ma'am. 1 minute please. I go to the manager and explain the situation up to when she asked for him. He takes the headset and I grab a spare M. Hello, this is the manager for tonight. What seems to be the issue M? I'd like to order please M. Ma'am, my crew member explained we are closed at the moment for maintenance and deep cleaning. You're going to have to find another McDonald's that's open, like the one in X and the other in the city center EM. But it's my son's birthday today and I want to treat him. Ma'am, I understand that, but none of our equipment is on to provide service. M. You ruined my kid's birthday. I'm coming to the window. EM drives up to the window and demands to see my manager's superior, screaming at him, not knowing he is the only superior there, since he's the damned business manager. M. I am the business manager ma'am. You've decided to harass my crew and disrespect me. We have your plate, face and car's description and we'll not only report you to the police, but we're permanently banning you from this McDonald's. Congrats though, you're the first person I've ever had to ban. Karen drives off and we resume the cleaning. We did have leftovers from before we closed, so we held a friendly competition for the most creative burger. I didn't win, but I got to eat my spicy quad Big Mac Supreme. TLDR, Karen didn't get the hint we're closed, so she screams at the business manager to get his in-store superior when he has no superior in store. She was banned and we reported her to the police for aggressive behavior. Title: My mom hates my wife's cooking. On mobile, too lazy to link to my previous stories about my mom. This one was about a dozen years ago. So back before my wife and I had kid number 3, my mom came to visit. My wife made dinner, and knowing how the oldest kid can be a bit picky, she gives him choices of which recipe she should make for dinner, all ones that he's eaten before in the recent past and said he liked. So, he picks a chicken Alfredo lasagna recipe, and wife is getting it started when I get home from work. Lasagna comes out of the oven, we all sit down to eat dinner, and oldest says, suddenly, he doesn't like it anymore. He changed his mind in the 2 hours since he picked out the recipe, apparently. So growing up, I of course was subject to the eat it or starve rule imposed by my mother. I don't really like giving this kind of ultimatum to my kids, but frankly I like cooking food they picked out and having them reject it a lot less. My mom tries to overrule me and offer to make him a PB&J, which, for the record, peanut butter was a food he definitely didn't like. This, naturally, provokes an argument between me and my mother about her respecting my rules in my house. Title: Biological dad blames me for the abuse I suffered from his girlfriend for years. Alright, I'm not sure where this should go. Either under R, raised by narcissists, or R, abusive parents, or what, but I figured I would start here. Warning: this is rather long. And I just needed to get this off my chest. Small backstory: my mom and dad divorced when I was in 5th grade. I'm on the lower spectrum of autism and didn't understand anything that was really happening during this time. I'm 22 now and I understand everything, but growing up all I knew was that my younger sister, 3 years younger than me, and I would see our biological dad every weekend, to every other weekend, and sometimes on holidays. He got a new girlfriend, my mom met my stepdad. Both sides had a child. My half-brother from my mom's side, and my half-sister on my dad's, both are less than a year apart. Okay, that wasn't really a small backstory, but whatever. About the end of middle school, my sister and I were seeing my biological dad every other weekend. I'll say it now, my dad when I was little and before the divorce was an incredible father. I was known as the daddy's girl, and I loved him to the ends of the world. He taught me how to make omelets, allowed me to stir the mac and cheese, brought us to many places that I still love now. That was before he met this girlfriend. At first, she was okay, she knew how to bake really well and enjoyed watching cooking shows. And I'll say this now, she isn't thin, she isn't even average, she was big. Like big, and she was very religious. At first, being super naive at my ripe young age of 10, I didn't understand the little things she would do. My hair was really long back then, about down to my hips. I hated how long it was, so I didn't care if it got knots, or tangled, or anything. I was just too quiet and nervous to have it cut, so it stayed long. In middle school, I was signed up to do dance classes in an attempt to help me make friends with kids my age. Lol, didn't work out for me, and it was required to have your hair up in a bun. I just couldn't figure out how to tie it up. She would make comments about how I was a slow snail, and got mad at me when I asked for help, saying it was ridiculous for someone my age to not know how to put my hair up in a bun. I remember crying about this and for my dad to tell me to suck it up. Eventually, as I got older, I was developing in ways I didn't like. In dance class, all the other kids were like twigs, and I was this curvier, thicker kid, very quiet and shy, and no one wanted to be around me. I was still this incredible and passionate dancer, but the way I looked made me feel off about myself. On top of the comments from this girlfriend, it really hit my self-esteem. And #X200B, I was still unaware of things this girlfriend would do, and how badly it affected my eating. My sister was way more aware of things she would do to me that I just couldn't see. I remember, one evening while our dad was grabbing things from the store and his girlfriend was watching us. We were this area that was halfway between the kitchen and living room. There was a bag of chips on the counter that we would take a few pieces out of while chatting. My sister was showing different dance moves, the girlfriend was talking, and I was listening and eating the chips. I remember specifically that I did not finish the bag. There was still plenty left for 2 more full servings. She suddenly grabs the chip bag to put away and notice how empty, in her eyes, it was. And she straight up loses it at me. I could only sit there in shock, as she tells me I was going to grow up to be fat and a disgusting woman, talking about my period, God hates gluttons, and how shitty my self-control was if I couldn't stop myself from eating half a bag of chips. I ended up crying in the bathroom and didn't eat for the rest of that day. And #X200B, now, here's where the title of this post comes from. I'll say it now, I was a rather picky eater. I didn't like Mexican, Asian, pizza, hamburgers, various sandwiches, etc. And many food items I had to have ketchup with it was pretty bad. I'm getting better about it now, but it was a huge safety net for me to dip it in ketchup when trying new food. But still, I was very, very picky. Both Dad and his girlfriend knew that very well. I don't remember when this started, but she started to not care about how picky I was. I don't like warm and mushy fruit, so blueberry pancakes were a big no for me. Instead of making a separate as my dad was about to do, she stopped him and told him to add blueberries to it anyways. Obviously, I didn't really like it, so I started carefully picking the blueberries out of the pancakes so I could eat them. Before I could even start eating, she took my plate away and threw it in the trash, saying I wasn't allowed to eat for the rest of the day. I was too shocked to even cry, just bottling it up and remaining quiet on the couch. We weren't allowed to take anything from their fridge, so I just had to sit there and watch the rest of everyone eat without me. Luckily, while she was taking a shower, my dad manages to make a small bowl of those little baby pickles for me to munch on, so I had something in my stomach. And #X200B, this continued for years. They would make something they knew I wouldn't like and I tried my best to eat what I could. I would ask for ketchup and she would yell at me about how disgusting I was for wanting that on her cooking. Every dinner I would beg for it, even if it was food I liked, but I required that delicious tomato paste. They refused to give it to me. Eventually I started eating really fast. The tastes and textures made me want to vomit, but I was sick of coming back to my mom's house and straight up devouring the whole fridge. His girlfriends again yells at me for eating too fast. Every single time, she would take my food away and I wasn't allowed to eat anything for the rest of the day. My sister and I would have to sit there and watch them grab snacks and lunches for themselves, shoving food down their gullets while we had to find something to do, afraid of getting yelled at if we sat on the couch for too long while they would sit there all day on their phones. It came to a point where I was terrified to ask for a glass of water in their house. And #X200B, my sister and I would try and come up with excuses to not go there, to which my dad would then guilt trip us. "Oh, well, I guess I'll have to tell your baby sister why her sisters aren't coming over." So we had to go, not allowed to bring our games, not allowed to bring homework, had to sit and wait for food and hope it wasn't taken away. I was too afraid to say anything. And when I did say something, I was screamed at about how much of a pathetic dumbass I was. Because of this, I was, and still am, the slowest eater in all of my friend groups. I would always ask for permission to do things such as use the bathroom, grab a cup of water, ask if I accidentally grabbed too much food and if I should put it back, if it's okay to have seconds. And #X200B, this led to me starving myself of food because I didn't believe I deserved it. In dance, I had the worst self-esteem, comparing my body to these very thin and teeny girls. I would weigh myself over a dozen times a day, harming myself so I could not feel the hunger pains. Covering mirrors 'cause I didn't want to see how gross my body was developing into something I hated. And still get ridiculed and yelled at about my weight from this girlfriend. I was throwing up my meals and stayed in one spot, either on the couch, or a hermit in my bedroom, drawing to try and pass the time only to get yelled at for being a lazy bum. And #X200B, I think you all know where this is going. To spare the graphic details, my mom had to rush me to the hospital. On the way there, my mom was chewing my dad a new asshole through the phone, yelling at him about how much weight I've lost, how his girlfriend was not to treat me like that, a whole lot of things that I couldn't remember. My dad did come to see me. I thought maybe, since he was alone and away from his girlfriend, he would apologize and just, be a father. But instead, what he said absolutely broke me. Why on earth would you do this to yourself? You're 15, you should know better. I just don't understand why you would do something so stupid. And #X200B, I just started sobbing. I was in the hospital and he just couldn't understand that he and his girlfriend led me to this place. I didn't know what to say to him, all I could do was stutter and rock back and forth to try and soothe myself, but he just kept asking those same questions. He left as my mom enters, all I could do was cry at that point. I went to different counselors and therapists. The end of my 8th grade year was me going to doctor after doctor. But I was too scared to explain why or talk about what I felt in fear of getting yelled or ridiculed at. This led to my diagnosis of bulimia, clinically severe depression, and generalized anxiety disorder. I wish this had a happier ending. My mom, I love her so much, she's straight up a mama bear, full on reprimanding my dad was definitely a relief, 'cause it felt like she was saying all the things I wish I could say. And #X200B, before people ask, I am doing so much better now, while I still have a nasty fear of getting yelled at. I stopped purging and starving myself, over 5 years strong. After all this crap that happened, I left dance, in pursuit of drawing and animal care. I was finding myself, and by the beginning of my freshman year of high school, finally realized how dysphoric I felt about my body and sex. I came out to my mom as transgender. She was very supportive and tries her best. As for dad and that very religious, evil stepmother, all that is a story for another day.